Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Welcome back in to Main Street Sports today. Here, not on Main Street necessarily of Columbia, but it's kind of the main street.
It kind of is the main street. I mean, when you consider where Main Street actually is geographically, this is kind of the main street. It's either 7th or Garden.
I think the budget recently put on this street would signify that it is Main Street.
It's the main one here in town. Glad to have you guys with us here live from Columbia, Tennessee. What a weekend it has been for college basketball. Obviously, with conference tournaments wrapping up, Selection Sunday. And yet, we didn't have to wait for Black Monday.
No, we did not.
It
was Black Monday all weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It was a bad day, starting on Friday, I guess.
I think it was Friday.
And
just continue to escalate rather quickly, as they say.
It did, in fact. So we will reach out to our friends across the Southeast from time to time to talk a little bit about teams in their area. And today we do just that as we go to the phone lines and welcome in Baton Rouge Advocate columnist Scott RABALAIS. Scott, welcome in. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Interesting times down here living and covering the Tigers, that's for sure.
No doubt.
We have had an unprecedented number of coaching searches and coaching changes around here. LSU has changed all 4 coaches in 4 major sports: men's and women's basketball, football, and baseball in the last calendar year. Sean Payton retired. Of course, we covered the Saints very extensively, and the Pelicans have had 2 coaches, or on their second coach of the year. Buddy Gundy left, and now they got a new coach. So it's been pretty hectic. It's become the norm here. The abnormal has become the norm here, I guess.
I guess the good thing is, Scott, once you get done with this one, you shouldn't have to do it again for a while.
You would think. You'd like to think so. That's right.
This latest one, obviously, I guess depending on who you ask, maybe it's been a long time coming. Will Wade, who attended Franklin Road Academy up here in Nashville, finally, again, some people would probably say, gets relieved of his duties at LSU after the institution received its notice of allegations from the NCAA, and they are many.
Yes, LSU was eliminated in the SEC tournament on Friday by Arkansas. The team flew back Saturday, and pretty much after that, Will was with away to the school president's office, where he was told that he was being fired and fired for cause. People recall that all this bubbled up 3 years ago when LSU was in the midst of winning the SEC regular season title and making a run to the Sweet 16, and Will was suspended for the postseason because he did not come to meet with LSU officials to talk about these allegations, him being on the federal wiretap, in that whole big investigation. And eventually he was reinstated, but with the clause added to his contract that LSU could fire him for cause if LSU even got a notice of allegations of level 1 or 2 violations, one being the most serious, of course, and not even sanctions, but just a notice of allegations. And obviously this was such a lengthy list of allegations, mostly basketball, a couple are related to football, which are also, it's also a big deal. Not to dismiss it, but obviously we're talking about Will Wade here. And I think LSU probably would like to have let the due process play out as they probably did, as they did throughout all of this. But I think it became very obvious that there's no point to that. If all these allegations will stick, some of them probably will, and there's no point to doing that. And ultimately, LSU has to try to minimize the damage to not only the basketball program, but the athletics program overall, because the NCAA, because of the football issues as well, did also, you basically use the term, lack of institutional control, which is what no school ever wants to hear, obviously, especially in your two biggest sports.
Makes total sense. And to kind of give some backstory here, there were a number of schools and teams involved in this, including Auburn, Arizona, and obviously LSU, Kansas was involved in this federal investigation, which basically revolves around paying players, making a quote strong ass offer, end quote, said Will Wade.
That was caught on a wiretap. Now,
there some corroborating evidence from the person on the other end of the lines that he was absolutely talking about money. So this is what this all boils down to. How much of an impact does the NIL situation have on future sanctions to these programs who were involved?
I guess it's a good question. Yeah, it is a good question and a natural one. And I would say, basically, it was a crime at the time, so you're going to deal with the problems that it brings. I mean, let's think back to, if I may use this analogy, back when you had prohibition, back in the day, right? And then they repealed prohibition. Well, just because liquor became legal again in the United States didn't mean that you weren't guilty of a crime for producing moonshine, or or running liquor across the border, back in the when it was illegal. So I don't think it's going to mitigate things for LSU or any of these schools necessarily. The NCAA was not happy with Will Wade, but they felt he stalled them. He felt he was not forthcoming. As recently as December, they interviewed him. They basically said he lied when they had some interviews with him. So I don't think it's going to help LSU at all. The NIL thing, it could change some of these issues in the future, but it's not going to change things for LSU at this moment.
I think we here in Tennessee absolutely know that lying to the NCAA may be a worse offense than whatever you're lying about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, there's that. Don't lie to the NCAA. Just tell them. And it's interesting to say the least that he would continue to do so when you knew it was coming. Go figure.
11 alleged violations, 8 of those level 1s. In addition to the strong ass offer, there is one alleging Wade paid hush money to the former fiance of a former player. Wow. To the former fiance of a former player in 2017.
That's one we didn't know about. We knew about the wiretap, him being called to the wiretap, obviously. That was one that was new to me. And it's like that of all the allegations, I guess because you're familiar with so many of them because it's been going on for such a long time. That was the one that really stood out to me. It's like, wow, you paid hush money to somebody who came back for more money, and he's like, no, I'm not giving you more money. And we're talking about like $9,000 or $5,000, and then she wanted $5,000 more dollars or something like that. The amount is immaterial, really. It's exactly what you said. She was trying to blackmail him, and he was paying her hush money. That's what it comes down to. And there was also an allegation that they paid money to someone to influence a recruit out of an account controlled jointly by Wade and his wife, Lauren. And when they asked him about it, according to the NCAA, he's like, my wife handles that stuff. I don't know what's going on. I think, the question I think a lot of people have is, one, why did LSU put up with this so long? And two, how did Will Wade keep just, pushing it off? And I think we'll probably never hear from him about it, obviously, but I think he probably thought once they got him on the wiretap and they got his text messages and his phone records, he knew they were going to get him eventually. He's just trying to go on as long as he can. And then, but as from LSU's perspective, I would like to interject this. The former LSU president, F. King Alexander, who was the president when all this stuff came out in 2019, was on the radio here today. And he was saying, people asked, why didn't LSU act earlier? And he said the FBI was not forthcoming with the evidence that they had to LSU. They would not share that with them. And he said, LSU had to have cause to fire him. And it was for what he said, what they had at the time was media reports. And obviously you could hear the wiretap. You could say, well, that's enough to fire someone. Yeah, fire someone who wound up in court because they're suing you for breach of contract, possibly. So, but once they got everything, the notice of allegations about a week ago, and once they got that and sifted through it by Saturday, they were like, we can't go on, and he's got to go, even though it's the eve of the NCAA tournament.
The eve of the NCAA tournament that Kevin Nickelberry will now coach in, former Hampton and Howard head coach, getting a battlefield promotion for this one. I mean, it's this is a lot for this team to have to deal with, I would think. Scott, getting ready for an NCAA appearance under an interim head coach?
It is, no question, Mo, and it's unfortunately something else you had to deal with in 2019. Yeah, Will, like I said, Will was suspended at the end of the season for the last regular season game against Vanderbilt, and then he didn't coach in the SEC tournament. They were 1-and-done against Florida, but then they made it to the Sweet 16, and Tony Benford was their coach at the time. He was made the interim coach. Kevin joined the staff as a bench coach a couple of years ago. So after that, but you've seen this before. Now, obviously, many of the players have not been through this. Darius Days, the senior forward who came back this year after testing the NBA waters, was on that 2019 team, and so he actually has some experience with this. But it's obviously it's a big issue. LSU, despite all their problems, is still in the NCAA tournament. Might there be a future postseason ban? Yes, but obviously the sanctions have not taken place yet, so they're allowed to participate. And so the 6th seed in the Midwest going to play Iowa State up in Milwaukee on Friday. And is it a huge distraction? I would think so. I also think kids are really resilient, and once they get on the court, maybe it's kind of a refuge. I don't think they're going to go very far in the tournament. I think they can win a game, and then they probably have to play Wisconsin and Milwaukee in the second round. That sounds like a pretty tough assignment. But Kevin Nickelberry. We met with him yesterday, and I tell you what, he had a good attitude about it. He said they're just going to try to focus on the game and try to just focus on the team and not worry about anything else, and move forward. Another one of the assistant coaches, Bill Armstrong, has also mentioned the allegations. He's also been fired, so they're down. And so he said make a couple of promotions, like administrative people, to help coach the team. It's a crazy situation, but one we've seen before at LSU in recent times.
Scott Rabelais, columnist for the Baton Rouge Advocate, with us here on Main Street Sports Today. Scott, we're kind of up against a break, but I do want to ask you, how do you get a coach to come into LSU and take this job under these circumstances?
That's obviously the big question. One of the big questions going forward. It's difficult because you might not know what the sanctions are, what the penalties are, before you'd like to hire a coach. And, schools are already making coaching changes, right? Georgia already hired Mike White and on. And there's big openings out there already in the SEC. It's going to be difficult. I tell you, I wouldn't be shocked. I know this sounds on a limb, but John Brady, the former coach, is the radio color commentator for LSU. I wouldn't be shocked if I'm not saying this is what they're likely to do, but if Scott Woodward, who likes to hunt for big names, as we know in coaching searches, if he can't get a big name or a name that he really likes to bite, because of the uncertainty, I could see somebody like John Brady being the interim coach for a year or something like that until they can move forward. Obviously, next year will probably be a terrible year, but I mean, it is. I don't think anything's off the table with that. But it's going to be hard to hire someone unless they know what they're getting into, I think.
Scott, thanks so much for taking some time with us, shedding some light on the situation down there in Baton Rouge. We appreciate your time as always. I look forward to talking to you again, but hopefully under better circumstances.
Maybe so. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
All right, Scott Rabelais, once again, of the Baton Rouge Advocate. When we come back, we will continue talking college hoops. 4 other SEC teams will be looking for head coaches, and we'll talk about ESPN's Joe Lunardi and his comments on Selection Sunday. We'll be back after that. This on Main Street Sports Today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
What better way to start your mornings than Mornings on Main Street with all the latest news from around Middle Tennessee with Big Joe Dubin. Join Big Joe and Justin, affectionately known as the intern. He does so much more. Weekdays at 7 a.m. for the most up-to-date news and more from around the entire mid-state. It's Mornings on Main Street with Big Joe Dubin, 7 a.m. on all of our Main Street social media platforms. And you learn how old some people really are on birthdays. Chris is familiar with that. Had a stint, a celebrity stint, I guess. Celebrity guest speaker. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's okay, I'm kidding, Justin.
We learned quite a bit about what Justin does on Friday, and well done to him.
Yeah. So. Yeah. By the way, shout out to him. Thanks for filling in Friday. Steering this video ship. I appreciate him stepping in.
Very helpful for me to not have to do it.
Yeah.
Doing the music was hard enough, as many of you could tell. Anyway, let's talk about the NCAA tournament, because it appears, Mo, and this has been backed up by comments from people in the
who actually know
in the
stuff.
bracketology world. Conference tournaments don't matter at the Power 5, Power 6 level. I say Power 6 because the Big East is a power conference.
So they say.
Why are you worried about why are you worried about winning?
You're worried about winning because it's the next game. I mean, I think Rick Barnes even addressed that in his post-game comments yesterday, that, some people talk about, going and getting off your feet and that kind of thing, and there being value in that, but there's got to be value in winning. And maybe I'm just naive or idealistic or something like that, but if there's a game out there to be played, there's a game out there to be won. And I just don't think that you can go about it as a coach or as a player saying, whatever, if we lose, we'll go home and put our feet up for a couple of days. I mean, there's something to be won. And, particularly for a Tennessee team that had not won a Southeastern Conference tournament since it came back in 1979, that was the first year of the reinstatement of the SEC tournament, was the last time that they've won it. So, I mean, you better believe it means something. It means something to them. Now, the fact that it didn't mean anything in Carmel, Indiana, isn't their fault.
I agree with that completely. You're playing 3 games in 3 days. Maybe you could be a little more lax with your, of course, when they got up 14-0, I'm not sure I wouldn't have put the scrubs in anyway and just let it go. It looked like they were going to run away with that thing.
It did look like they were going to run away with that, and then all of a sudden,
it was a 10-2 run by A&M.
Buzz Williams and the Aggies showed back up. Yeah, as bad as Tennessee seeding is, Texas A&M's omission may be worse. I mean, if What's the point of the tournament at all if you can't play your way into the NCAAs?
Mo, I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to go exactly to that point. If and we're obviously going to hear from Joe Lenardi here in just a moment, but we're teeing this up. If you're going to give the automatic bid to the tournament champion, obviously that carries weight, correct? I mean, that means
one would think,
as opposed to the regular season champ, right?
which is who it should be.
So, but if they're going to categorize seeding and whether you're in or out based more heavily on the regular season as a whole and not weigh anything really is what it appears to the tournament. It
Unless
just seems
your name is Kentucky or Duke.
it's kind of contradictory.
It's not
feels.
kind of contradictory. It's terribly
Yeah,
contradictory. I mean,
So let's put the automatic qualifier, which you guys have talked about, put it on the regular season champ. And
They definitely should, and that's what I have in here. You know, why do we play Power 5, Power 6 tournaments, and why do we play G5, G8, or whatever the number of conferences there are in Division I? Because there's so many. There's probably 12 or 13. Anyway, why do we play those teams regular seasons?
Yeah,
because in the
Doesn't mean
grand
anything.
scheme, neither of those two things mean anything. So, if the goal is to win a national championship, I mean. Anyway,
Texas A&M comes into Tampa as the number 8 seed. They beat Florida 83-80 in overtime. That's an 8-9. Okay. Florida's not very good. They were getting ready to fire their coach before he found a soft landing spot a
Georgia.
few hours north. Okay. Get that. 8 seed at Texas A&M beats number 1 seed Auburn in the quarterfinals. Auburn, who was in the discussion for a number 1 seed before settling for a number 2.
The first thing I'll say,
yes.
sorry, guys.
Texas A&M in the semifinals beats 4th seed at Arkansas, which got a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament bracket. And then they lose in the finals. How did that Arkansas win? How did those 3 wins in 3 games, one over an eventual number 2 seed, one over an eventual number 4 seed in the NCAA tournament field, not get them in?
Well, and Florida was either a last 4 in or first 4 out to begin with. A&M was the next 4 out. They were on the bubble going in. I agree with you, Mo. How do you
If you're
not
on the
win?
bubble going in,
How do you not?
And you beat a number 2 seed?
You make it to the championship game in arguably the second most competitive conference this year.
arguably the best.
You could,
best
yeah,
conference
against the
this
Big 12. I mean, that's the only other
They
one.
beat the Big 12 in the Big 12 Challenge,
So-
and the number 3 seed and the number 6 seed in the SEC tournament beat their 2 best teams.
Yep.
Their 2 best teams. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's not what we're talking about. What we are talking about is that the conference champion of arguably the toughest and deepest conference in the country got a 3 seed, and here
It didn't move. It didn't move.
And
didn't move. There's that.
Yeah.
and 2 other teams, both of whom they beat, got 2
RT
seeds.
seeds. So here's the rationale,
Explanation.
the explanation that we got from ESPN's Joe Lenardi. Reese Davis grills him pretty hard here. Let's hear what he had to say.
the first thing I'll say is I get the frustration.
Oh, do you?
I absolutely knew it was going to shake out this way. Because these Sunday games, year after year after year, don't matter
Well, what
in
about the
terms of
Saturday
selection
game?
and seeding.
What about the Saturday game with Tennessee and Kentucky? They beat them 2 out of 3.
I understand that, but we're looking at a Tennessee team. They finished tied for second in the SEC. Okay. And I just believe that the committee was not going to put them ahead of a Big East champion in Villanova.
Okay.
They were
They
not
wouldn't.
going to put them ahead of Duke, certainly.
Wow.
Even though you could argue resume from now until next season.
Who's going to argue?
Duke fans?
I don't know. Everything on my board said they were a 3, and I listened to you guys all day, and I kept thinking that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And they certainly weren't going to be a 1. And look, I don't think we would move any of the teams off the 1 line for Tennessee.
Okay.
But and then let me finish. 2-3. What are we really talking about here? Is the color jersey in the regionals?
but maybe not
Agreed.
when the 2-15, 3-14 game matchup. But all of that aside, Joe, I do want to know, and look, I'm not picking on you. It's close. I understand that. You said everything on your board. What was it on your board that had them ahead of Tennessee?
Well, I've been aggregating metrics long before there was such a thing and long before there was the net. It's all classified, of course. But when you look at it, they came out about 20% in my overall aggregate rankings behind Auburn and Kentucky in terms of the season and their quality of their overall play. And I just haven't seen a team move that much within, kind of my indexing to jump 2 seed lines in a day or two.
His board is
Flawed.
messed up,
Flawed.
There were 4 teams in college basketball, in Division I college basketball, that had double-digit victories in Quadrant 1. Kansas, Gonzaga, Baylor, all of which are number 1 seeds, and Tennessee.
To add to that, Mo, you guys may have heard this too on the broadcast. They mentioned that since Tennessee's loss to Kentucky, I think the first time around, I think they went like 16-2 down the stretch. One of the hottest teams. Whatever rankings or net, if you will, coming into the tournament, they were the 5th best ranked team in the country. The 5th.
Honestly,
coming into the tournament, coming into postseason.
By the end of yesterday's game, I honestly felt like Tennessee was closer to a 1 than they were to a 3.
I agree.
Well, here's the thing. You're talking about Duke, who does not have the resume anywhere near what Tennessee has. Tennessee won more games in Quadrant 1 than Duke played. They also lost more games in Quadrant 1 than Duke won. That's 18 games Tennessee played in Quadrant 1, Duke 8. They were 11-7, Tennessee was, to Duke 6-2. And Duke had a Quadrant 2 loss, I believe. So anyway, all that to say this. I'm not super upset because one person on Twitter came back at me and made this point. I'd rather be a 3 in the South than a 2 in the West. So
I'd rather be a 3 in whatever region the number 1 seed is a team I've already beaten.
Yeah, that's true.
But the number 2 seed who you get to before them whipped you. That's the problem. You got to hope
November.
You got to hope somebody does some dirty work.
Hey, there you go. It happens. It happens.
It does happen, but that's where
I guarantee you, this Tennessee team right now is
Much
better
different.
than that team then.
Oh, no question.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, Zakai Ziegler.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference.
Joe James.
Yep. J Cubed should have been the MVP.
He should have been the MVP.
He should have been the MVP.
Taking nothing away from Kennedy Chandler.
Absolutely not.
But, yeah.
I'm not upset. I think this is a good
I'm
draw.
not upset when all is said and done, but it's just irritating. Again,
I'm more upset with the explanation and the rationale than I am the end result.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's take a quick break. Halftime is on the other side. It's probably not going to be very long, so y'all come back anyway.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Welcome in. It is halftime. Got a couple of little things here. It is Pie Day.
Here we go.
It is pie day, and we've not done top 5 pies, Mo. And I feel like that's a perfectly good thought process. We answered that here in studio, but did not answer it in our group
in the
text.
text?
Sorry about that. I figured we'd answer it now.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it may be top 5 pies tomorrow.
Yeah, Mo, you didn't hear us when we
when we
Chris and
had the discussion.
Go figure.
Oh man. But yeah, I'm excited. Pies are I prefer pie over cake.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
Twice on Sunday.
The only cake that I would choose over pie is cheesecake, and it's basically a pie.
It's a pie. It's a pie.
We
No, it
probably
is.
need to determine that before tomorrow.
It's a pie.
Cheesecake is a pie.
Cheesecake, we'll
Yeah.
put that in a pie.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I mean, when you go to Cheesecake Factory and you get like red velvet cheesecake, it has red velvet cake in there.
Yeah.
But the cheesecake
Yeah, they
part,
kind of cheat with it. It's cake and pie at
Yeah.
the same time.
It's all right. You can add that one.
yeah,
Particular one.
I feel like
But cheesecake in general. Yeah.
cheesecake is a pie.
Mhm.
So, anyway, I told you it wouldn't be, but it is a good tease for tomorrow. So
Top 5 pies.
definitely. All right, we're going to touch on the women's tournament on the other side of the break, and we may get into baseball in that segment as well. So y'all stick around. Main Street Sports Today comes back after this.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Second half action now, Main Street Sports Today. Coming up, we'll be joined by Chip Walters of the Blue Raider Network. Talk a little MTSU sports. Also, 30-second takes. That is rapid fire. I'll pipe off a question and get Chris and Mo's response. We'll talk a little bit, preview the Mid-State Classic coming up in softball and the NCAA Women's Tournament. We'll react to those brackets as well. That and more right now on Main Street Sports Today. Back to the Hall of Famer Mo and the sun-kissed kid from Alabama, the Orange Crush, Chris Yao.
Funny story. Back in the, I want to say mid 2000s, one of my fantasy football team's names was the Crush.
The Crush?
And I made a helmet with the Orange Crush logo on it. So I was a big fan. Big fan of that. I guess it's the orange. I'm a big fan of the orange.
You look like the Orange Crush.
Look, I'm here for it, man.
Yep. The sun-kissed kid from Alabama.
I gotta say, that's a good looking.
This three-quarter zip is.
Yep.
This is probably.
I don't know that I necessarily like the sleeves.
Yeah, it is what it is.
But no.
Is that long sleeve?
Yeah.
It's a two-tone long sleeve?
Yeah, it's all connected.
Yeah, I'm not down on that either. And it looks like it's a short sleeve with a long sleeve underneath it.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Other than that, I'd go all orange.
But I will say this. If the sleeves are all orange, that might be too much orange.
That's true. It's a good point.
And then this part has a Rocky top on the back. That's the cool part for me. I like that.
Mo, because there is such a thing as too much orange.
Oh.
Especially this one.
There is more of a thing of too much orange than there is a lot of other colors.
Correct. Especially that shade, as Chris mentioned.
I was
It's in your
going
face,
to
though.
I was going to wear my smoky gray hat.
Yep.
But apparently got smushed under something.
Oh,
And so it's kind of crooked.
Don't you hate that?
It's very annoying. So it's this part that's crooked. It's not the bill. The bill's fine. It's this part that just goes kind of like wonky.
Stick it in the washer and the dryer, and it might shake it out.
Throw it in the dishwasher with one of those hat forms from Lids.
Oh,
There you go.
Yeah.
That'll help us out.
First world problems.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Tennessee Orange, the Lady Vols dropped to a 4 seed, which was expected after a tough close to the year behind several injuries.
Couple of major, significant, big time, huge. I mean,
cannot be understated injuries.
No, exactly. I mean, the Kean Green injury was bad enough. The Jordan Horston injury was devastating.
Backbreaking, devastating. I mean, it really was. So even still, this team has an opportunity to make some noise. How do you see this team being able? Do you think they can get to a Sweet 16? I'll tell you, my bracket does not have them in the Sweet 16.
I'm going to tell you, Sabrina Ionesco is not walking through that door for Oregon.
Okay. That's where I have them losing.
I think Tennessee. I do think I don't see any reason they're not a Sweet 16 team. Now, once they get there, they got to deal with Louisville. But I don't see anything that makes me think they can't be a Sweet 16 team.
So no chance Belmont gets the upset?
Well, Belmont plays Oregon.
I know.
Oh.
To avoid playing Oregon.
Back to the getting somebody else to do your dirty work, huh? It'll be interesting. You know, Belmont picked somebody off in the first round last year. I don't remember who it was.
Here's the thing. This is the difference. The reason they get to the Sweet 16 is because this game is being played
in Knoxville
at Thompson Bowling Arena.
You know, it's kind of unfortunate, and we've got something here that we're going to deal with in just a second. But the number of on-campus and in-town games that are played on the women's side, just because attendance hasn't shown that people will support neutral site tournament games, and it's unfortunate. But
I'm fine with it in the first and second round. What I'm not fine with is every single year.
And if you remember a couple of weeks ago when we talked about some bracket projections and that kind of thing, UConn was not in Bridgeport, and I pointed that out
because they were not playing very well. But then they whipped Tennessee pretty good and then played pretty well the rest of the year.
I just feel like the number 2 seed. I mean, if I'm an NC State fan, I'm hot.
There it is. Congratulations, NC State. You are a number 1 seed. Your reward is playing an away game at UConn.
With a Final Four spot on the line. I'm hot.
That's not cool.
If I'm Wes Moore, I'm hot. Now, I mean, he can't say a whole lot about it because he's got 3 games between here and UConn.
But if he gets to that point,
I hope he unloads.
Absolutely.
Former UTC coach Wes Moore, by the way.
Can I just throw something out there and you guys tell me if I'm crazy?
You're crazy.
Florida Gulf Coast University, number 23 in the country in the Associated Press poll.
Gets a 12 seed?
Gets a 12 seed?
Oh. They're the ASUN?
Yeah. They're the number 23 team in the country.
Well, the media doesn't know what they're talking about.
Lenardi does, apparently.
I guess what this says is the women's selection committee is almost as screwed up as the men's.
Well, at least they got something equal. Come on, man. Give me the dings on that one.
Give it to him.
That was good. Oh
Yeah.
man,
Equity. There we go.
equity, baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
Many shades, isn't it?
and then on top of that, you've got a really, really interesting and what I think is going to be one of the most fun games of the tournament in the first round down in Baton Rouge when LSU takes on Jackson State. It's going to be entertaining with those two coaches. That's all I'm going to say. The coaching will be, I hope they have cameras affixed because it's going to be worth it.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Well, you remember Jackson State's coach got in trouble for her pink breeches or whatever. And
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
she's a character.
It'll be a dress off between her and Kim Mulkey for sure. Yeah, because Kim will take that as a challenge.
There's no question.
Yeah.
Oh man, but this women's tournament, man, I've got my bracket filled out, and of course, I've got to go with South Carolina. I mean, it's South Carolina, Stanford in the finals, and I've got South Carolina winning it. Although I do think that on a neutral floor, it could go either way.
Did Stanford beat South Carolina earlier this year?
No, they lost at South Carolina. Remember, they played Tennessee and they beat Tennessee, and then they went over South Carolina and they got beat.
Yeah, okay.
But it was close.
Yeah.
Probably too close for comfort.
Tough to beat a good team twice.
It is. No question.
But I'm picking South Carolina to do it if that's the matchup. So
there you go. All right, let's take a break. We did not get to baseball. So tomorrow we may take an hour and just
we
down.
may know more.
We will know more tomorrow.
It may be better to have a little time to let it sink in.
Let
the two of you let it sink in.
I'm good.
I'm already at acceptance.
I'm good
in the steps.
I just need more information to know
how good,
who to be upset with, if anybody.
Yeah, so some Braves talk tomorrow. Should be fun.
Oh yeah, no question.
There will definitely be. There will be talk.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk to Chip Walters because on Friday, Mo and I sat in this room and watched all three overtimes. And JP, I want you to know, it kind of hurt watching MTSU lose. I was kind of rooting for MTSU to win.
You're coming around.
Well, not necessarily coming around. I just thought that this year was kind of their year. And the fact that they only got a CBI bid is kind of trash.
And to that end, I have to be honest. I wasn't nearly as irritated with UAB winning as I thought I would be because I really like Andy Kennedy.
It's hard to hate Andy Kennedy.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to Chip. We were trying to get Chip on the app, but I couldn't cast to the TV and get the varsity app up, so I couldn't listen. But anyway, we'll talk to Chip Walters on the other side about that experience and how he called the end of regulation and the end of the first overtime because they were fun. So stick around. Main Street Sports Day returns after this. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, coming to you live from the dimple of the universe, Columbia, Tennessee. You know, Middle Tennessee has a lot to offer. We got quite a bit down here in Columbia. If you've not been down here, if you are watching or listening to this and you are across the mid-state area and you've not had a chance to get to Columbia, I encourage you to do so. Stop by the Welcome Center and go see the fine folks, Kelly Murphy and others in the Welcome Center. They'll get you set up to make your trip the best it can be. Maybe come over and see the Eagle Maniacs on, next time they're in town. They were in town over the weekend, and I know
they're coming back, I think, right?
I know that Chip is sad that he missed the Eagle Maniacs this week. He was here the last time they were here. He'll probably be here the next time they're here. Chip loves him some Eagle Maniacs.
Well, I am going on April 29th to see the Eagles.
Name dropper.
Watch out.
Name dropper.
And I'll be the maniac that night. Yeah.
Who's going to be the front man that night? That's the real question.
Toto.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. With the option. No, wait a minute. I'm not sure there is an opening act that night. For Journey Journey's coming on the 27th of April to Bridgestone, and the opening act for Journey is Toto. Half the tour it's Toto, half the tour it's Vanilla Ice. I lucked out. It's Toto.
Listen, I've seen Vanilla Ice in concert, and it's actually not that bad. Of course, he was also with Coolio, which was awesome. So
that's pretty good.
Well, a friend of mine saw Flava Flav buying pajamas at J.C. Penney in Murfreesboro too.
Yeah, boy.
That's right.
Oh man, Chip Walters, the voice of the Blue Raiders, and fresh off his trip back from the Star out in Frisco, and the Curtain had a lot to say over the weekend.
Boy, did it.
But Chip, how was the trip overall?
Overall, I mean, you stay in great hotels out there surrounding that area. I mean, all the teams get treated really well. It is a unique setup the way they have it, but the Ford Center is fabulous. But it was built for football, so it has some unique situations, I guess, to say about it. But anything that the Dallas Cowboys do is typically going to be pretty top notch. I will say one thing, and there were several of us walking around out there. You walk around in the outside of the Ford Center where they've got the almost 100-yard turf field out there for kids to just play on and whatever. But you've got the Cowboys building, their office building, the outdoor practice areas. And you look around there and you say, how do they ever lose a game when you see what all they have at their disposal out there? But the Cowboys people did a great job of putting that on, and there was some terrific basketball, and some of it, the exhilaration of winning over UTEP was outstanding. The hurt from at the end of the UAB game, it hurt, and it's supposed to at that time of year. But it was Sam Doughton, by the way, wrote a great column about how the hurt is supposed to happen when things like that happen. But the sun did come up the next day. He said, "Joy cometh the following day," or whatever. But it was a good trip. We'd like to have played one more day, both the men and the women, but both have now their postseason destinations have now been clarified. The men going to the CBI down in Daytona, which they've changed that format where it's all in one location which I'm kind of excited about to go down for that event. And the women are going to be just announced here a bit ago. They're in the it was announced last night that they were in the field of the WNIT. They will host Wofford Thursday night at 8:00. The Terriers will be coming in, and everything on the TSSAA schedule for Thursday has been moved 30 minutes earlier so the women can get an 8:00 game in that night. So the 10:00 game that was going to start the day will now be a 9:30 a.m. Game in TSSAA.
That is good information to have.
Yeah, and they've done that before, and the TSSAA and middle athletics, I mean, have a long history of working together, and Bernard Childress, great Colombian himself, he and his staff have always done a great job of doing whatever they could to help accommodate middle in a postseason situation. And remember, I think was it the Minnesota game a few years ago for the men was kind of a very similar situation, but everybody just worked together and it worked out. It's funny how that happens.
Specifically, these are all Class 1A state quarterfinal games. Hampton and West Carroll. It's a dirty word around here.
No doubt.
That game is the 10:00 game. It is now the 9:30 game. MAHS out of Memphis and East Robertson will tip at 10:45 instead of 11:15. North Green and Clay County will be at 12:45 instead of 1:15. And McKenzie and Peabody will be at 2 instead of 2:30. And then I think you go to Class 2A semifinal matchups. That'll be at 4 and 5:15. That's
I think that's correct. That's on Thursday. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
actually, 4 and yeah, that's right. Yeah, 4:00 and 5:15 or something like that, or because it's all everything. Yeah, like you said, everything is kind of moved up on that. But that's just go TSSAAsports.com, or I'm sure Main Street Preps will have the updates on that. As this has all just happened, so the websites may not have been completely updated just yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. We watched.
Yeah. I was just going to say the men will be playing on Saturday in their first round game in the Roman College Basketball Invitational and play Cal Baptist. The interesting thing in the WNIT bracket for the ladies is that there's a possibility of a third round game, Middle and Vanderbilt, for a second time this year. So
in the other a second, well, okay, no, I'm sorry. Cal Baptist is also in the women's NIT, and ironically playing at 8:00.
Yeah, they are.
That's unique there. Anyway,
the Lancers.
Ooh, I like that's a good nickname.
Longwood is the Lancers.
The Lancers.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for the Lancers then at any point this week.
That's Dr. Pimple Popper's favorite team.
Gotcha.
This guy, Chip. How many times did you think that triple overtime game was over before it was over?
Oh man, at least twice. If not, I think twice before it actually ended. But you've got to close. You've got to do those things out. And even though the team shot free throws very well, when you look at the numbers, there were 2 free throw misses that could have locked the game up both times. And that's unfortunate. I mean, it could have put it out of reach, and it gave just enough crack in the door for UAB to come make a play. And you do not want to put the ball in Jelly Walker's hands with a chance to make a play to keep the game going or to win it. And although he did miss one to and Kyle made the statement on the air that, who is be them was probably Michael Ertl. He was terrific in our game, but on the other side of things, I'm not sure I've ever seen DeAndre Dishman play a better game than he played against UAB the other day. 25 rebounds or 25 points, 9 rebounds, and fouled one post player out, nearly fouled KJ Buffin out. But he just went to work and put the team on its back.
He did go to work down there in the low post. We saw that, coming down the stretch and in the extra periods. Was handling it out on the perimeter a couple of times when he probably shouldn't have been. But
Yeah.
but with the game he was having, it was a little understandable. But yeah, Jelly Walker, that kid, I mean, he epitomized ice water in his veins, looked like, and Chris knew of him, I guess, and he made some plays and made some shots in the overtimes, plural, that were just outlandish. But
but everything that comes out of his hand looks like it's going in. I mean, whether it does or not, but it's crazy, and I was thinking about it. We've in the last 5 years, we played, for a couple of years against Ja Morant at Murray, and Jelly Walker's not a Ja Morant, but he has he has his own exceptional skill set that may be equal to Ja Morant. They're not the same, but it could be equal in that is that he may have a pro career ahead of him too, because he's tough. We played him twice, and although one game was 55 minutes long, he scored 82 against us in 2 games. And our guys are pretty good defensively.
Switching sides just a second. Disappointing loss for the Lady Raiders against La Tech. Because it looked like they were in control of that thing.
It was, and and all of a sudden the offense dried up, and Louisiana Tech started finding holes in the defense, and all that happened in a very short period of time in the fourth period. And what had been a 13-point lead turned around to an 8-point deficit, and in a real quick amount of time, like I said. And I think that Middle was on course to win that whole thing on the women's side. But now that they get in the WNIT, he's got a team that has a fire burning in them and will have a chip on their shoulder, and they will be a very tough out in the WNIT, would be my prediction.
Chip Walters here on the Monday edition of Main Street Sports Today as we react to all the things that happened over the weekend. We actually watched that game. We saw you on television, or at least the back of your head on television. And so we were real curious how those final calls went down. But
I have no idea. As long as I got them right, that was the main thing. And getting them correct was the big thing. But yeah, I was hoping to have something dramatic in a victory, but that just didn't work out.
Well, it's too bad you weren't doing baseball, I guess.
It is too bad he wasn't doing baseball, and I'm glad you got there, because we need to step away from the big round ball and get to the small one just a second. MTSU goes down to the loveliest village in the plains and creates some issues. Took 2. I saw the Friday win. Yes. I did not know what happened.
They ended up not playing on Saturday because of the weather. Played a 9 and a 7 yesterday. Auburn took the first one 10-7, and Middle came back and won the nightcap 4-3 in 8 innings. So they take 2 out of 3 down there and come home for Austin Peay tomorrow and Old Dominion this weekend.
Oh, so we get started in Coosa this weekend. That's a pretty good series to go into conference play off of. I'm not sure how good Auburn is, but anytime you can go on the road as a mid-major and get 2 of 3 from an SEC team.
Well,
that's a little bit of a feather in your cap.
yeah, they were 13-3 going into the weekend.
They're pretty good.
Yeah,
Clearly. Chip, thank you for taking some time with us. Glad you got back safely, and we will probably reach out over the next week. But also, are you going to be calling any championship games on Saturday?
well, that was on the schedule. Yes, I was supposed to, but I'm going to be in Daytona with the men, and so that will not happen. Kyle is going to be here to do. He and I were supposed to do the 1A and the 3A, and I think Jake Rose is going to step in and take my spot on those. So they're in good hands.
He will take your spot. He will not fill your shoes. Chip Walters, the voice of Blue Raiders, with us here on Main Street Sports today. Chip, as always, again, we appreciate it.
Adios, Kazoots.
When we come back, it's rapid fire reactions here on Monday. JP with all the topics, throwing them at us, get our quick reactions. So stick around. Main Street Sports Day returns after this. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Welcome back into Main Street Sports today. Thought JP might tell you about our friends at
Sorry about that.
Main Street Today with Devin O'Day. Main Street Today is your half-hour coffee break with Devin O'Day, featuring lifestyle, inspiration, and entertainment news. Main Street Today airs live weekdays at 11 a.m. Central, or you can catch it on demand on all of our Main Street Media social platforms, including highlights on Instagram at Main Street Today Radio. Is that all one word?
Yeah, for Instagram, yeah.
Gotcha. Take your daily coffee break with Devin O'Day on Main Street Today. Weekdays at 11 on Main Street Media social platforms. Couple things we need to get to before we get to our rapid fire reactions. One, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Columbia State takes on Motlow State, not hosts. I guess technically they're hosting. They will be the home team.
I would imagine that the Lady Chargers will be the home team in this ball game. Yeah,
at 1 o'clock.
Columbia State and Motlow State play in the preliminary. I guess what do they call it?
Well, they are the opening act. If
they
you
are
want to
the
go
opening
with,
act.
You want to go
the undercard.
The undercard. That's what I was looking for.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Of the Mid-State Classic softball event out at Ridley Park. Again, they won't be hosting because it won't be at Eddie Campbell Field, but it will be at Ridley Park. That's a 1 o'clock start. The main event, as it were,
is not at 2 o'clock, although it really is at 2 o'clock. It's us. We're the main event, right? No? Okay, sorry.
Depends on who you ask. at
All relative.
5:30 at Ridley Park, Memphis and the University of Tennessee will play softball at Ridley Park. We will be doing our show from Ridley Park tomorrow at 2. So I guess that does kind of make us the main event.
We're part of it. We're full coverage here on Main Street Sports today.
There you go. Timely and comprehensive.
Timely and comprehensive.
We will be
no
on
doubt.
site for both those games. So be sure and check us out and check out our coverage again at mainstreetmurray.com. Also, before we get to rapid fire, congratulations to Columbia State freshman infielder Abbott Lawrence.
What if he's named after Jim?
Or Trevor. Freshman from Good Pasture was named NJCAA Player of the Week. I assume it's for the period of February 28th through March 6th. Hit .556 with 4 home runs, 13 RBIs. 3 of those home runs coming in a game against Wallace State.
That seems good.
I think that's pretty good. Also scored 11 runs. The 6'5", 235-pounder from Good Pasture. Mashing.
He also was hit by a pitch 12 minutes ago. and eventually
he's 6'5", 235. How's the ball?
Is the ball okay?
Yeah.
He was then driven in by Tyler Cullen, who doubled to left center. So
is this the first game of that doubleheader?
C-State is up 4-1 at the end of the first inning.
Oh, so this must be the second game of the doubleheader then.
Yeah, they probably started at noon. Yes, yeah. The first one ended 5-2 Columbia State.
So they're going for the sweep.
Going for the sweep of the double header
against the Eagles. There you go. Send them packing.
All right. JP, you got some topics for us to get into?
Yeah, we can run through a couple of things. First glance, and on this Reaction Monday, some interesting a couple of NFL stories we'll read off the top. One of the Sunday morning headlines was that the final touchdown football from Tom Brady was sold at auction for like $500,000+. $518
was the number.
And later that day, Tom Brady announces that he is coming back. Are you excited? First thoughts.
I'm not excited.
Yeah.
I want Tom Brady to go to the house and stay at the house.
Yeah.
But I'm trying
Clearly, Giselle did not.
She's like, you've been around here too much.
Listen,
you got to get back to work.
Forget what I said. Get on out of here. But I'm trying to stop payment on that check.
Yeah. There's no way they're going to make him pay that, right?
I don't know.
They would have to refund that. Or take the ball, sell it when his last TD does happen to couple it with that last TD ball, and maybe you get some of your money back. But listen, if you've got $500,000, you ain't missing $500,000.
That's true. That's true.
A fool and his money are soon parted is what I've been told more than once.
There you go.
So there you go.
Anyway, as far as excitement, no, and here's why. Because Rob Gronkowski was coming to Nashville. He was going to be the Titans tight end. And
do we want Rob Gronkowski?
Absolutely. I want all of the characters.
All able bodies.
I want the Titans to really be the Avengers. All the characters. Give me them all. So
what does that make Rabel?
He is, I guess he would be Captain America.
Captain America? That would work. I'm not an Avengers guy, so I wouldn't know the answer.
I don't know who the leader is either.
All right. One other NFL topic before we switch into a little bracket mania. News, I guess, today, right, fellas? Trubisky to the Steelers?
Seems so.
Yeah.
Very surprised.
Is he the guy?
No. I thought the Steelers were going to do everything they could to get Deshaun Watson.
I kind of thought they were too.
Apparently they're not, because they've got Mitch Trubisky, which, luck.
All right.
I don't know.
I don't know. how does this guy continue to get jobs?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling that.
Got a good arm, I guess.
Fortunately, I'm not a Steelers fan, so it's not that much of a bother. But
I'm all for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, get all the bad quarterbacks.
Right.
Yeah. Good luck to you.
All right. We'll switch to the NCAA tournament. The bracket's out, and of course, what do they call it? The first four still starts tomorrow.
64 teams or 60 teams get a bye.
Yep, there you go. All right. So my question to you guys: every year we have a 12 over a 5. Which 12 seed or 12 seeds will get the annual win?
My answer.
I've got the 4 games.
My answer already.
New Mexico State is a 12 versus UConn. Wyoming or Indiana, that's a play-in game, if you will.
How is St. Mary's a 5?
Against St. Mary's, yep.
They're trying real hard to make that conference a thing.
Yeah, they're piggybacking off of Gonzaga.
They're trying real hard.
UAB's a 12. They get Houston. And then Richmond, who upset Davidson, they get number 5, Iowa. So which 12 or plural 12 seeds will get the annual 12 over 5, in your opinion?
1 is Wyoming. Wyoming is definitely going to win.
Clear win over Indiana and then win over St. Mary's.
And then win over St. Mary's. Absolutely, definitely going to happen. Take that to the bank, which means do the opposite. And I think UAB has a chance because Jelly Walker is really good. They just got to keep.
He's going to make the all-name team.
They've got to keep Houston off the offensive boards. If they can do that, UAB wins.
Okay. Well, what 12s do you like?
I tend to agree just because, again, how is St. Mary's a number 5 seed? So I think whoever comes out of that play-in game is going to beat St. Mary's. But I like Wyoming to come out of that first 4. And yeah. I'm not necessarily picking the 12 seed to beat the 5. I'm picking the 5 seed to lose to the 12.
There you go. Yeah, there's a lot of precedent about that first 4. Winner of that, they get in a little rhythm and have done well. Tennessee did it one year. So, all right. Next up, which number 1 seed will go out first? Gonzaga, Baylor, Kansas, or Arizona?
Kansas. Because I've got Gonzaga and Arizona in the Final Four,
all right.
And I think Baylor gets the nod.
Okay.
So you think Kansas is the first number 1 to get beat?
Yeah.
Where do you see them losing?
Baylor was a one and done in the Big 12 tournament,
which means they're rested.
That's true.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the Elite 8. I think all the 1 seeds get to the Elite 8.
Okay.
2 of them are going to make the Final Four.
You feel a little chalky, huh?
Yeah.
You know, at the risk of agreeing with Chris, I think Kansas is the first one out as well. I don't know if Kansas gets to the Elite 8.
I think there are places.
There's a couple of minefields out there, as Clark Kellogg said yesterday.
There you go.
All right. And then finally, guys, to end today, best chance for a non-top 4 seed to make the Final Four.
A non-top 4 seed?
A non-top 4 seed. So 5 and above. Which 5 and above team you think has the best chance?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I'll tell you.
Basically, who's your Cinderella story?
Yeah.
I
get the question. Yep. I don't know that I see a non-top 4 seed making a run to the Final Four.
The only team that I think has a legitimate shot, and that is just because the rest of the bracket is kind of meh, is maybe Miami. As a 10 seed, the rest of that bracket is just not great.
I just don't think that the ACC has been good enough to get a team ready for that kind of a run.
It really depends on if you think Colgate's going to beat Wisconsin or not, and a lot of people do. That's
Well-
because I think Wisconsin gets to the Final Four if they beat Colgate. But I'm not sure they can beat Colgate.
I don't know that Colgate is going to beat Wisconsin in Milwaukee.
Listen, I'm just saying.
Let me throw one at you. What about 6-seeded Alabama?
Listen,
They get hot.
I don't know if Alabama can sustain it for 4 games.
I think they've got the talent, though, right?
Yes, it's possible. If they beat Texas Tech, they can go to the Final Four. They've already beat Gonzaga in Seattle.
Mm-hmm. They
So-
beat Baylor at home.
Alabama absolutely has the ability
Mm-hmm.
because they play to their competition.
I'm going to just tell you,
But I would love to see Alabama Notre Dame.
I want Notre Dame beat with all due haste. I'd not be shocked if Memphis gets Gonzaga in the second round.
Mm.
Well, I can tell you, this is going to be a great tournament because of the obvious upsets aren't there, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see some teams that nobody expects to win, and all these people who think San Francisco is going to beat Murray can kick rocks.
Well, and we've got full capacity in stadiums too, so or the ability for that. So you got the fans, and an underdog story in some of these arenas is a powerful thing, and you can ride that to a win or two.
Who would you rather see in the Sweet 16 if you're Tennessee, Loyola or Villanova?
Villanova.
Sister Jean or
I'd
Villanova?
rather see Villanova.
Villanova.
I don't want to
Every time.
see Sister Jean anymore.
Anywhere.
Nope, not in March.
No.
Oh, man. What a great reaction Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you missed any part of the show, go check out the podcast or watch it back on video. There's plenty of places to find it. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Come back tomorrow. Plenty of Braves talk, and hopefully we'll have a guest or two involved with some kind of baseball. So
I got a comment from the Peanut Gallery. Chuck says JSU shocks the world.
okay.
Little
It will
parting
be.
shot.
Not happening.
It will be,
But okay.
because I think that Auburn team is going to be really irritated over the way they went out in Tampa.
Anyway, y'all come back tomorrow. Should be a great show. Off of Top 5 Tuesday.
Top
Man.
5 highs.
Main Street Sports Today. Back tomorrow.